Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. In today's episode of Here's What the Mainstream News is not telling you about the sheer mountain of bullshit that is gushing from Nigel Farage's mouth, we have his new plans to deal with the Boris Wave, which refers to new immigration which happened after Boris Johnson took power in 2019, and the risk that those people will apply for indefinite leave to remain. Basically, the Reform Party is saying that they'll make sure that those people can't stay here permanently. They'll deport them all. And the crazy thing about this is, one of the journalists at the press conference pointed out that even people at the Tommy Robinson rally were okay with immigration as long as they come here and contribute to the economy, pay taxes and work. And this is what Nigel Farage had to say.
The reason that people will answer that at the march or wherever else it may be is there's been no debate on this, there's been no facts. If people are coming here working, contributing, obeying the law, not bringing dependents, not using the welfare system, then people won't have any objections because we're a fair-minded country.
That's funny because you remind me of a debate that I had with an ex-Big Brother contestant outside Tory Party conference in 2018.
We're allowing vast amounts of people from Eastern Europe coming here that cost us money. Immigrants have to benefit the country, not be a burden on the country.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's why. So what if we had a situation where you, in order to come to this country, you needed to either have a job and therefore be contributing to the economy, or have your own medical insurance and have enough money that you would not be a burden. Wouldn't that be good?
Yes, I agree.
That is literally EU law.
And I told you that directly in 2017.
Article 7 of the EU Citizens' Rights Directive, which says that in order to come here without a job, you need to have sufficient resources to not become a burden on the social assistance system of the host country, or have have comprehensive medical insurance.
Yeah, it's theory and practice, isn't it? It's theory and practice.
Yeah, it's in theory and practice, but then you've got to ask yourself, if the government hasn't been implementing EU-made restrictions on immigration, then who should we be blaming? Should we be blaming the EU or should we be blaming the government?
Femi, in theory, you're right. In theory, under European treaties, there are restrictions that can be placed.
Okay, so Nigel Farage knows that the kind of immigration system that most people want was available when we were in the EU. And how does he think things are going now we're out of the EU?
Is over half of those that come don't work and will never, ever work.
Okay, half is a big number. Unfortunately, one of the journalists at that press conference asked him where he's getting this number from.
Can you clarify which cohort you were referring to in the article and what's the source of that statistic? And because migration experts that I've spoken to this morning say that there's no evidence at all for that claim.
We are firmly of the belief, with research backing it up, that just over 50% of those who are coming up as part of the Boris Wave for indefinite leave to remain are not working, have not worked, and in all probability will never, ever work.
Okay, so he's basically just saying, trust me, bro. Now, let's be fair. If he did have a reliable source for that number and he just didn't remember it at the time, surely you would just say, well, I'll tweet it later as soon as I find it, don't worry. But he knows that what he's saying is bullshit. But this narrative of the Boris Wave of people that have come to the UK since 2020, you know, when we left the EU, not working. It's interesting because the Office of Budget Responsibility has analysed the people that have come to the UK since Brexit, and they have said that those people are much less likely to be in employment. It is the official analysis of the UK government's economists that post-Brexit immigration is less economically beneficial. Why? Because under the EU it was free movement of labour. You came here to work. If only somebody had warned Nigel Farage that removing the EU's restrictions on immigration would lead to even more uncontrolled immigration.
Logically speaking, if the EU has restrictions on immigration and the UK hasn't been implementing them, leaving the EU would mean more immigration.
So do you see how Nigel Farage has knowingly created a problem because I warned him that that was what he was doing, and now he's trying to politically take advantage of that problem. Oh, and it gets worse because he brings back this old chestnut.
That mass unskilled migration has driven, in many, many cases, the minimum wage to become the maximum wage. Under our proposals, would pay go up? Yes, it would go up a bit, and I think that's a good...
Okay, but the idea that foreign workers come into the UK driving down wages is based on the idea that UK employers will simply pay whoever's willing to work for the least amount of money, which means the core problem here is the ability of employers to exploit people on low wages. It is our capitalist system that allows working class people to be taken advantage of. The way you fight that is by strengthening workers so that they can come together as unions and demand higher pay. But Nigel Farage's response to nurses and teachers demanding higher pay was to accuse them of being part of a left-wing conspiracy. This man has no interest in actually improving the pay that working class people get. It's just about being hostile towards foreigners, including blaming foreigners for the amount of tax that we all have to pay.
And have a direct drain on the taxes that they themselves pay when they get up in the morning and go to work.
Meanwhile, the damage that his Brexit has done to the economy has cost the UK government £40 billion a year in lost tax revenue, which is one of the reasons they're having to tax us even more. So at every level, Nigel Farage has created a problem and is now trying to sell himself as the solution to the problem he created. So please make sure that anybody you know who is thinking of voting for Farage to deal with immigration is being sold the antidote to snake venom by the Cobra himself. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.